Thank you very much.
We did the work on the beginning day. Alive means present. In the last month, let's use our time to share with one another what it has meant to us, and the discoveries we have, questions.
Josè, may I?
Mm-hmm.
I want to start briefly about the experience I had when I watched the video, because it was very unexpected, kind of a surprise in the sense that, like for me, was if I went at the source or the origin of the charism, like if I was witnessing the very first day the charism came up in history. That was the impact he had to me, because Giussani in the video says something so essential and so unique about his experience that was unseen before, and it was unseen for me when I encountered it. And then, during the work has been asking this question, what does it mean for me today, this event that has happened many years ago? So how this spring comes again and reaches me again in my life, and because it's not enough just to recognize that I belong to a history that was they came from the spring, like that now is a river. And the answer came more recently, especially the question was about what is the announcement? What does it mean for me to do the announcement? I had a life in the past where it was very clear what it was. But what about today? The answer came 2 Saturdays ago while we were doing charitable work. I was with Raquel and other friends, but in particular I was with Kelana and Raquel, and we stopped. We met 2 people, 2 friends that we meet every week, Bobby and Kim, and we started joking because they look younger. They were old. So we started really talking about things, and we gave them food and we left. There was no deep conversation. And then Bobby, for the first time, chased us. He went running. He's 65. So he came. And I thought, wait a minute. What church are you from? He asked us. So what do you mean? I mean, we don't come from a church. What religion are you? So we're Catholic. Okay. I wanted to know because there is something in your mannerism, use that word, that I had never seen before. And this was the answer to my question, because this announcement of Christ, this announcement of this presence that reaches me, is not that something that I say. It's in the true nature of what I do. Better, if it is in the true nature of what I do, it's an announcement. So these 2 friends that we see them generally late at night while they are half asleep, recognize something new that was for them they had not seen before. And this gives me the answer is the announcement is in the true nature of what I do. Either is in the true nature of what I do, or it's not something I can say or I can convey in a discourse. And this, I think, was the best answer, because the work is just to recognize that I am part of this history, and that this history has changed me at the point that even a banal conversation conveys it.
Actually, I think I have a question or a request for help. Because last night at the School of Community in Newtown, I hope I will be able to. I understood, and I said that there is a confusion between. There is a confusion when we talk of, when we look at this. How can I say this statement, this claim by Father Giussani when he says that Christ was a presence carrying a proposal with a meaning. And then he says that it was not for what he was saying, it was not for the miracles, it was not, but because the announcement was the entire him. He was the announcement. And there, then trying to understand what that means, it was very clear that actually at a certain point somebody said, well, you know, if you follow what he says, then you get to know also him, which I feel that is exactly the point. That is not true. I understood that there is a division between the presence and the proposal, as if either you follow the proposal, meaning Jesus says to do A, B, and C. The movement says to, the words of the movement is A, B, and C. Or you follow the presence. At that point, the presence becomes a ghost, basically. I was trying to convey, and that is why I'm asking for help, because I don't think I was able to convey it properly, at least. Because the whole, whatever he's saying is about going back to this presence that is so, it's not a person who says some few things that you are invited to do. You are invited to follow that presence who is full of, is carrying, he says, is carrying a proposal full of meaning. I understand that the possibility of a great mistake is in how I understand this sentence. I don't know if you understand me what I said. I'm asking for help in the sense what is that? Can you clarify this thing? Because it seems to me that is the whole point. The rest is like either an introduction or a consequence.
I mean, to simplify even your question, I would simplify it at this level, summarize it at this level. What do we understand when we use the word witness? When we use the word witness, what are you a witness of? How we answer that question helps us to understand what conception of the church we have. And I think it would be good for you even to think about this. When we speak about witness, I am a witness. What am I speaking about? Often we speak about witness in terms of certain moral behaviors, right? So therefore, a conception of the church would be those who live according to certain moral behaviors. There is, in what Salvatore was saying before, the beginning of a different answer. Because he says, witness is a way of communicating my true nature. And that's why he speaks naturally something about your mannerisms, something about how you move, right? But the something about how you move can still be reduced to certain way of doing things, which exist, we have. The question that is at stake is whether our understanding of who we are, witness, has to do with our participation to the life of God in His body. And it has the people of God, a sociological structure, right? Faces of people, ways of doing things, rituals and routines that are part of any sociological reality. The family, the friendship. And then there is the ontological dimension, the body of Christ. That my presence, my witness, is an expression of the life of God here and now, of the body of Christ. Is to witness the experience of Christianity. Now it leaves, even in this conception, a very important question. What does it mean to encounter a Christian? Encounter a Christian is someone that is of Christ. A presence that carries within an announcement. A human that carries within something of the divine. But it carries something of the divine in as much as it participates to the life of the divine. Think about the place, the critical place that the Eucharist plays in our lives, as a moment in which we are given the life of, giving as food the divine. Therefore, to witness is to communicate my true nature. And this is where the challenge lies. I do not communicate, I do not have control on my true nature. I am not able to control my capacity to communicate the divine. I can only communicate what I've been given. And not what I've been given in the past, but what I am given now. Otherwise it goes stale. I think Salvatore's question at the beginning is like, I have participated to the life of a beautiful reality of the church in the past. But in order for me to participate to the life of the divine, and therefore to actually experience the reward of the life of the divine, I need to experience it now. Therefore, only one who actually, and you can begin to use words that are important to us, only one who actually belongs, that is informed by another. In the words of David Schindler at the talk the other day, that is someone that lives according to desire, that is other-centered, not self-centered, but other-centered. It's a beautiful sentence of Schindler the other day. To live according to desire is to be other-centered. Someone who is free because of the life that he or she receives. So we witness what is happening to us now. My life carries within the announcement of Christ, in as much as I participate to the life of Christ. It's interesting if you follow this line of thought for a second, that therefore to witness is not a presentation of my beliefs or my way of thinking about life or acting, but an invitation to enter into the life of another. The last couple of years we've spoken often about how our society needs dialogue and the difficulty of actually even perceiving this beautiful sentence of Carron, that the other is a good to me. But only someone who lives according to desire, meaning only someone who is other-centered, only someone who is begging for his presence, understands that the other is a good. Because lives it continuously. And it is very interesting because to witness, therefore, my experience of faith is not to communicate the understanding that generations of people have had about the Christian events, but it is to embrace the other. But embrace it not in a sense of as we confusedly speak about welcoming. No, embracing the other because the other is good, because this is the general position in which I find myself continuously. In something as simple as the charitable work that Salvatore was speaking about, you can see this immediately. Anyone can understand this. Whether I am looked as someone desired, so I'm being looked by another that is other-centered. I'm looked by someone who desires to encounter me, or I'm looked with pity. I'm looked as a project. I'm looked as someone needs help. And you see the distinction. We witness what is being given to us. And in the beginning there you see how Father Giussani said, I wish you could actually strip off all of your ideas of what the Christianity is, no, to understand the engine that is underneath. But it's not that the tradition is something that we don't need anymore. No, the tradition is as everything else, as the people we will meet when we go home, is other, given to you. And therefore, for anyone who is of Christ, something desired. As modernity is something desired, no? It's this beautiful sentence also of Schindler. So the reality, the society that we have is given to us. It is unsettling for us to think that the divine may have chosen you or I to express himself, to communicate himself to others. Unsettling because we know of our failings, we know of our difficulties. We know that we are not divine. And therefore we would like to have something that is uncorrupted, something that stays always fixed, never changing. But the dynamic of the divine is the dynamic of desire, meaning of other-centered. Is God that gives His Son. Is His Son that dies for you. the engine of God, the way how we learned it when we went to catechism class, the Trinity, is the love of the giving of the Father for the Son. When we answer the question of what it means for us to be a witness, we can choose those two main roads. Witness as, let me show you how my beliefs transpired in my actions. Or, I show to you the life that is in me. That is the life of the divine. That is a life of desire. That is a life of sacrifice. But not sacrifice because you self-sacrifice, but because you are other-centered. You give yourself. There is an underlying question that is absolutely critical to us, is where do we participate of the life of the divine?
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah. I have to stand up. How are we doing this? Yeah, so what you're saying is very helpful, first of all, but so the last couple months have been really beautiful for me because we have, because when Chico left, I was given responsibility of our school community, and I didn't really know. I was kind of worried in front of that because exactly like you're saying, I mean, you start to realize your inadequacy, I think, pretty immediately. And so I was actually really worried that, people wouldn't stick around, right? But I called Olivetta, and we had a number of beautiful conversations, and the first conversation really stayed with me, which is that each of the people that's there is given to you, just like you're given to them, to witness exactly to this, to a life in relationship with Christ, right? And that we're called to take care of that, not just you with them, but them with you, right? And so when you see each face, you see a relationship with Christ, right? Because all of us wouldn't be there if that weren't the case. And I had this really present also when I visited Puerto Rico, because you've had us, there's a number of us who are visiting, and I remember being struck when I met Josè in particular, who was a Members Domini down there, and it was kind of like we had this ongoing conversation, like why are you here, right? Not like why are you coming, but like in general this question that was pressing, what are you doing here for us and you for me, and I remember what you said and what Olivetta said, which was, the fact of the matter is that we're here to witness, exactly as you're saying, to this friendship that makes no sense outside of the encounter, right? Me going to Puerto Rico to see you is kind of absurd. I don't know you guys. I do know them from movement stuff, but it was very clear the only reason why I was there was because of we'd encountered Christ, right? And this was the dominating fact. And the weekend was really that simple. It was kind of just being in front of the fact that that someone and something has happened to us. And what you're saying now helps me a lot to understand better what all this means, and especially when you say that it's not that that we have these two options, right? One is this idea of like we can do the actions, right? So like I do these things because this is what Christians do, or we can give witness to a relationship that's changing us. And there's a few examples, a lot of them from my school community, just quickly because they're really helpful for me. One was our last school community, and there's a wonderful couple who I could talk about, but and the wife is pregnant, and I was really impressed by the way the two of them were in front of the pregnancy and all the difficulties, and they have a lot of other questions in addition to the pregnancy being difficult. And both of them said some of the same things, but I was struck by two things in particular. One of them said, the wife reminded the husband, or vice versa, I can't remember, that they have a friend that they talk to, who's Father Paolo down in D.C., and recommended that they don't stay in this alone. So one of them called, and Paolo, talking to them, reminded them that that this was an opportunity, right? The suffering was an opportunity to offer for the child, and that was the beginning of the spiritual relationship with the child, right? I mean, that's crazy as a concept. So she's very sick, struggling with these things. They have a lot of stuff on their plate. But then this friend says, this is a possibility for you to begin to have a serious relationship with a child in your womb. And that changes dramatically the situation. All of a sudden, your position changed. So it's not about your problems and difficulty, but it's about someone else who wants to give something to you through this, right? So it's saved. But I saw the change in them. I mean, I saw them change when they came to art in my school community. And that was really impressive. And then I was talking with this same friend, the husband, on the way to a dinner last night to talk about this prison ministry that we've been doing for charitable work. And this was, again, the dominant thing. What is Christ asking of us here? And we got to that conversation because I had a crazy thing happen to me with a friend of mine. And it's just it's a good relationship, but there's a lot of questions that I have there. And I was talking with her about her life, and it was very clear that no matter what I wanted or what she wanted, she needed to take care of a few things, right? And that was very clear. But I saw myself deeply desiring for her to take her life seriously, and that my first desire was for her to take her life seriously, and in doing so also to take mine seriously. And it would have been very easy for me to reduce everything to my own desires in that moment and not cared about what Christ was clearly proposing to the two of us who have a relationship with Him. And that's what dominated. And I understood intuitively in that moment that I was making the right decision, not because it wasn't what I wanted, right, but because someone was asking me to sacrifice in this way for something more interesting and more mine. But there's a paradox there, because ultimately you're giving up something for someone else's idea for you, which is better. And the only reason why you can make that seem reasonable is if you have a real relationship with that person, Christ. Right? Otherwise, it is a moralism. It's just actions. And the last two examples are very helpful too. I mean, a lot of you guys know Rich Vega, and he's left now, and he's in Minnesota. Or no, he's here. Is he here with us? Oh man, Richie, I'm sorry. Richie's here. Oh man. Anyway, he was visiting at some point. And I was really struck by Richie because it was very similar to the other story I was telling. Like, he was at the weekend for the fraternity, and Grace is super sick. And he had to stay with Grace the whole time. And obviously he missed out on the best part, so to speak. But then intelligently, and because of the proposal we have, especially in small fraternity, and in the work that we're doing now, he understood that that was where he was supposed to be. And then being with Grace, who was sick, completely changed and became even more important to him than the supposed thing that he was missing out on. Right? Because it's his daughter. And I thought, how often do we look at those things? Like, you could look at your daughter and think of that as a burden, as opposed to the proposal for you, the most clear proposal for you in your life of your vocation, who you are as a father. So I think those examples for me, or the last thing I see is, Diaconia started again in New York. And we're all there because we want to be there. I mean, I don't know, things like that are really inexplicable, but very clear to me, signs of like you said, other-centeredness and our desire to be with that one who generates us, and risking everything on that without necessarily knowing the final result, but being aware that it's good. It's good for me. It's good for them.
Thank you.
I want to react what you said. What doesn't mean to be a witness, and
Yes, raise your voice.
yeah. And I was very struck when he said here that the first conversion needs poverty of spirit, and the first symptom is listening. So it's listening. Yeah, I would say that to be a witness, it's I need to listen, because and I had this experience in the past weeks, that any time that I was listening, like now in the house where we have a guest for a while, or doing charitable work, when I go to charitable work, I go in order to receive rather than in order to give. So So if my position is a listening position, I receive back what was already given to me, because no, because I can be a witness if something is happening to me now. Otherwise, I cannot. I can just pass some I don't know procedures or whatever. Okay. And I also had an experience of not listening recently at work, where I was kind of defending my rights. Okay, maybe the good one, but it was not. Eventually, I was tired to. I don't know. It was like it was a fake position, like to just defend it. Rights. And then I remember that last year Caron stressed a lot this expression that the problem is not who is right, but the problem is how to live. So I want to, and I understood that since problem is in my life is how to live and not if I'm right or wrong, the condition is to listen. Yeah, and then I'm very grateful because all the education, the movements basically is an education of listening.
And it gives you also this that Paolo is saying, what Tim was saying, it gives you an understanding of, if we are trying to understand what is the engine, what is the motor of Christianity, this other-centeredness, no? The life of the divine, the word desire, that you receive, that you understand what is the meaning of the word begging, no? Listening, what it means to follow. Because we think about following many times as do as you are told. Instead of like you were saying before, what is it that is Christ asking of me? One who listens is one who desires. And you understand even like the sentence that you were quoting by Father Caron, the problem is not whether you are right or not, but it's how do you live and what life, what is your life made up of? Think about how easy it would be for us to correct ourselves quite often, or even identify whether we live our lives with a religious position or not. Because you can walk out of this meeting, you can walk out of your house, out of your work, and the first thing that often comes to mind is all of the things that are wrong. But what are you doing when you like highlight all of the things that are wrong? You have your idea, and you are measuring reality according to your idea, right? Instead of like the continuous insistence of Father Giussani and Father Caron to see and look what is happening, to the novelty that is in front of you and that you are receiving, this presence of the divine that is very much desired, but it is unexpected also. The crisis of our time, in this sense, is a crisis of desire. But not desire as self-centeredness. Desire as because your whole heart, your whole being is asking for something else, for another. Is not content with it. Therefore, to listen is to desire, to listen is to obey, to listen is to follow. Do you agree with this, Paulo?
Yeah. Thank you.
I think that, and I hope that these words are not complex, but we have to, like, we are almost rescued from our self-centeredness into a life of desire, because we've reduced desire to being selfish. To stop measuring what we think we need or what we think is right or wrong, and to enter into the dynamic of Christianity, that is the one who begs for His presence. Last week on Monday, the responsorial psalm was, "These are your people, those who wish to see your face." It's a beautiful description of the whole dynamic we are speaking of.
I don't know if I will be very clear, just something that came to my mind when you were talking, because so these last 2 weeks it happened for so for 2 months we were in hibernation because Luca was studying for this big exam, so our family was very focused on getting that thing done. And this past couple of weeks after the exam, we had the opportunity to see many family that were starting to know in our neighborhood. And the thing that you were saying about the option that you have to either look at what is wrong or look at the other as something good and start this dynamic of the desire, for me was very clear, because the more we get to know them, the more we realize how wrecked the society is, and including us. Like, everyone has some weird stuff in their family. It's very complicated. It's very, very complicated. And when you realize that you're letting them in your family, the relationship with your children, it opens up a deep wound. You know what it means to be vulnerable to everything that is around you. And to me, what it was surprising is that probably for the first time, rather than being scandalized, like, okay, well, apparently everybody we know is either lesbian or like has some weird family situation where you never know who is the mother or the father, like, it's always crazy. But for the first time, rather than being shocked and starting to wonder, oh, how am I going to explain this to my daughter, I was like, okay, I decided to come to the assembly, because I was like, I need this place to keep generating me, because these people come to us. It's very strange, because there are people that are 40 years old that come to us to ask us about daycare, and how did we choose the daycare, and how did we choose the neighborhood to live in. And so it is clear that they see something in us. But for me, to be capable of staying in front of this wound that is constantly open in the relationship with these people, I need to stay close to this presence. And so it is really a dynamic, this thing of the desire, because the more you live with your desire, the more you stay in front of life as something good for you, but the more you need to come back. So it's like a spiral, no? And so I just think that sometimes I see that a little yes then start to generate something that is just bigger and bigger every day. And so I think that it's very moving to see what he does when we just, do this little step and welcome him, and then he just he makes us love him every day more and more without us doing so much, just having these people over and offer them coffee, and then this whole dynamic starts.
I think that what you say, Mari, is extremely helpful to understand two things. Number one, that we are made for desire. Everyone is made for desire. It's part of the dynamic of every single person. So, like, we use in our history the word heart, no? We are made for that. And precisely, and there is something within us that is always screaming for the need to live. So like that way. But you realize that the more your desire is awakened, the more you need to be generated, the more you need an answer, the more you need, then, Olivetta, it makes sense, a presence with a meaning, an announcement. It's not enough someone that sustains you, in front of like all of the crisis and say, keep desiring, but you need the intuition, the face of the one you desire. There is where we can begin to grow in the awareness of why is it so important for us to simply follow the place that generates us. Be it because you go to School of Community, you pay your common fund, or because you respond to an announcement that is given, right? Because I need to be generated. I need more of you. Not because I'm terrified by reality. And I think that you said this clearly. It's not a question of being terrified and I need to be defended. But because I come to realize, become aware of the potency of my desire. I want to love these people. I want to live in this world. No?
We had some interesting conversations in witnesses in our school community at St. Andrews. And one of the things that we've been speaking about a lot is what some of us are doing with Salvatore. I don't know if you talked about One City Mission tonight because I was late. But there's a couple that lives on a park bench in Bay Ridge. And their names are Tamray and Chris. And I mean, I'm not able to go to the big runs that they do in Manhattan, but when I'm in Bay Ridge, I see if the couple is there, and I just bring them something small, talk to them, whatever. And I realized that this meeting with these people corresponds to who I am and what I've been given. Because the greatest thing in the world, I think, the greatest witness that I can be in the world is to be in front of people with a lot of who suffer a lot and know that I'm not there to solve their problem for them. And it's true that this big wound opens up in front of people who suffer. It's really, really true. But to be able to share in that suffering just by being present to them is such a gift. I find is really a great gift, and the gratitude that people have just that somebody wants to be with them and talk to them, accompany them. How are you? You know, what's going on? And so Tamray said, oh, you know, being with you guys, it reminds me of when I was a little girl, and we used to hold hands and pray. And so I said, okay, well, we can do that, you know. So we all held hands and we prayed, and she did like a spontaneous prayer, and she said, please, God, keep these people in my life forever. Keep these friends in my life forever. And when she said that, I mean, I was, I mean, what? We don't give them money. We don't give them shelter. You know, they have problems. I'm sure that part of her problem is that she has a problem with alcohol. You know, we don't give them alcohol. You know, what does she want from us, why does she desire our company so much, and why do we keep going back there? With gratitude and simplicity and even joy, looking forward to seeing them. So that to me was a great gift, and being able to, but accompanied, because we're together, because we're doing it together. And then the other thing is, we have the School of Community that we do over Skype with this friends of ours in El Paso, and Justin and Carrie, the couple, the husband had some very bad news that his uncle shot and killed his own daughter, and it was all over the news. And then I said, well, do you still want to do the School of Community? And his wife Carrie said, more than ever, because we really need you guys, And so we got on the Skype, and Justin said, who are you guys that you want to be close to me right now? Like, my family name is all over the news that my uncle is a murderer, and yet you guys come and you stay with us. And this was over Skype, and yet it was so, I felt so close to these people. It was such an incredible gift, really, to be able to be with people, but not to have to solve their problem, because that was the freedom. That's the freedom that I learned from One City Mission, from being with all of you for so many years. This is the education that we've been given, and I think this is what can make our witness even greater in the world, because there's too many problems. We can't. There's wildfires, there's school shootings, there's club shootings, there's people's families falling apart. What problems are we going to be able to solve? I haven't solved anybody's problem as long as I've been around, but my heart has grown. My capacity to love has increased, and my desire to be with people has grown. So my change has happened, and I know that for so many years, when I was younger, when I was an adolescent, I was very unhappy for many years. And when I found this companionship, some desire was answered in me. And I realized that this is the place, this is the place that Christ prepared for me to be. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to answer her question of why we need you in our life, because Salvatore knows how he met me as a panhandler, and he didn't judge me, and he showed me Nicole and all these other people and Salvatore and all the other people that are in here. He showed me these people. He showed me that love exists. He showed me that compassion exists. He showed me that not the whole world is filled. I saw the world is there filled with vultures, snakes, witches, all the things that you can think of. That's how I saw the world, and I never, ever, never, not once thought that someone, a bright light, would come into my life like this. And yes, maybe, I don't know, I prayed every time I panhandled. I prayed, I just prayed, and I would see people walk by, 300,000 people walk by, and then I see 30 people give, and then I see them, they come. At first I was annoyed. Hurry up, I just want money. Go, I just want some money. I want to buy my cigarettes, I want to buy my whatever. So the main answer to your question, why you give what Jesus Christ gives. You're holy. And I want that, and maybe they want that too, but they don't know how to find it, because everything around down there on those streets is the evil things that we consider, we hear of in things like Harry Potter. Witches, warlocks, snakes, vampires, werewolves. I lived in a house full of vultures. And even though I come bearing gifts of cookies and cakes and stuff like that, they still stole my belongings from me. They still stole it from me. Like, as I left in the house, I come back, pants are missing. I remember I had to hold my strength because the girl is wearing my pants and she's big. She's big. And no, Ruby in the past would have said, oh no, you better take those pants off. You take those pants off right now. You take them off. And I don't care what she would have thought. And I said, and even after I spoke to a friend on the phone and I said, I can't believe it. And he said, yeah, I would take those pants off of her right now if it was me. And I said, no, what am I going to do? Wear them? She stretched them. And I spoke to the girl, and I put olive oil in her hair, and I spoke to her and I told her, I know you stole my pants. I know you stole them. What? Huh? She began to be offensive. What? What are you trying to... Listen, I know why you did it, and I know that you needed it. But God is going to give me more than that. I didn't. Oh, Mia gave it to me. Oh, So my whole thing is that there are people out there that you may have not have seen because you think maybe they're on alcohol or something. But if she's praying that you stay in her life, it's because she wants goodness in her life. She's tired of all the things that go bump in the night. She's tired of the goblins and coming after her. And I say it metaphorically, that this is that's really out there. It's what's really out there. And that's me speaking on her behalf and on behalf of all of those out there. They want to be good, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how. And it's even annoying to realize that it's even annoying when you're used to being so bad. You're used to being so bad. You're used to being you're used to it. This is the lifestyle I'm accustomed to. The lifestyle I'm accustomed to. And maybe she wants that change in her. So she prays for you to come. And I prayed for Paolo to always be in my life. And again, like I said, when I first met Paolo, it was like, oh, this guy is mine. He doesn't even give me money. Like, why are you better to talk to him? And at the end of the day, something snapped inside of me and woke me up. And maybe it was because of how much I prayed to God to come into my life. Maybe it was God himself to give me the sign, because it went from me trying to, like a vampire, get away from me, or actually black cat, scared of goodness. And thinking, I remember when he asked me to come help with the One City mission. It's like, is this guy crazy? I'm homeless. What is wrong with this guy? Like, homeless, feed the homeless. And now I'm happy. I'm happy because I was taking my money anyways, and I passed it on to the homeless people anyway. So I said, I can feed them. I thought about it. And I thought about it. And I gave good heart awards. Because I felt guilty to just take money from people and not be able to give them something back.
Wow.
Made bracelets, and I sat there with my legs crossed, and each bead I even learned how to do with one hand, so I can shake the cup and shake the cup and make a bead and make the bracelets, and I don't know. I just. Does it make sense to you?
Yes.
Very
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Ruby.
Ruby. All right.
My real name is Amelia Yolanda Rodriguez Colon.
She's a good name, by the way.
Buen nombre.
But I love the name Ruby. I don't know why I always feel like my name is Ruby. Ruby, as you guys would say. Or even my own language, my Spanish culture, we would say Ruby. And I don't know, thank you. Thank all of you, because I didn't know this many good people exist, and I should have been dead. I don't know why God saved me, but He did, and I was angry at Him I got hit by 2 cars, and according to a witness, she said I got hit by 2 cars, and then I told her, first she said 1 car, and then she said 2, and I told her, bitch, you're crazy. I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
But, she was offended. Obviously she left me to die because I cursed at her. And all I know is I dreamt that I got sent straight to hell. I got sent straight to hell. And it wasn't beautiful. I wasn't beautiful. My face, my skin, everything was melting, and I had to say it's a dream because the psych ward wanted to put me in a mental ward for this, and my skin was melting, and I was in a lake black like tar, and my skin is pizza melting, and nothing was beautiful, and it wasn't an inch. A split second of happiness. The pain I felt there was worse than that day that I decided to walk into traffic. And I'm alive, and I realize again, there is good people. You're good. You're all good. And I was told, you are unholy, by someone named Cyrus. You are unholy. But I was given another chance, another opportunity. I thank God for all of you guys and that you do this. Because now I know the world isn't only filled with vultures, vampires, werewolves, thieves, criminals, backstabbers, anything negative you can think of. I know that this isn't the way the world is, and now I don't want to die. I want to live, and I want to live for God now. So,
thank you, Ruby.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, what Ruby says helps us to understand the dynamic. Like if we actually forget that what changes our lives is the presence of another, we lose sight of any possibility to experiencing a sense of goodness, of freedom in our lives. But it requires the simplicity to be willing to accept the fact that the good comes from outside. It's not about you living a good life. And I think that what Ruby was saying is very helpful. It's not about you trying. It's not even whether you know what is the right thing or not. If you are not made by the good, you cannot be good. Yet this is where we see our self-centeredness. We think we can do it on our own. The only thing that will conquer us out of that position is the encounter with another. with a good that makes you desire more good. I think it helps understand also, like what Maria Stella was saying, like this desire to embrace the other is because of what you've received. It's not something that you make up on your own. It's not that we don't have the capacity to be good. It's that we need a good to meet us. That reawakens it. But reawakens it because it brings with it an announcement. This word Josè uses here. It's not, a good person. But a person that, because of the way that I'm looked at, that I'm embraced by this person, it allows me to be good. I want to say 2 words with regards to the School of Community of the next month, which, number 1, is in perfect continuity with what we are talking about, and number 2, I think, is a fantastic tool to face one of the questions, or the most important question that we have as Christians and Catholics in the world today. That is I put it divided in 4 parts, and I want to explain to you very simply what I propose to all of you in School of Community. The question is a very simple one, the question that everybody has. Is the church, with all of its failings, truly the prolongation of Christ today? Or truly the prolongation of Christ today? Is the church the place and sign of its presence? I want you to very purposefully, during the next month, in School of Community, come to a point of personal judgment with regards to what is the church and what do you with your friends, with whomever is there, how do you judge the situation in which the church is today? Don Giussani, on this chapter that is very brief, says a couple of things that I will just highlight. The first thing it immediately says, if Christianity is something that happens here and now, in order to recognize it, in order to be aware of it, I need to use my experience. I need a criterion of judgment. The criterion of judgment that Christianity from its inception has used is what is it that matches the desire, the heart that I have. The church, says Josè in this text, believes that the answer it presents to the needs of the human heart will be incomparably greater and truer than the fruit of any other hypothesis. Therefore, if what Giussani says is true, I should be able to recognize that experience in my life. The School of Community says the church repeats with Jesus that it can be recognized as credible because it corresponds to man's elementary needs, to its yearning, to its need for fulfillment. I think that what Ruby said is a very, very clear sign of this. School of Community continues. This is God's pedagogy. God asked the prophets to believe in Him because He affected verifiable demonstrations of all that He said through signs. God did not ask the people to believe just any prophet. On the contrary, He provides them with a rule of discernment for distinguishing the false from the true prophet, he whose words come true in history. The third point, the church, and this is the judgment, the strongest judgment of these pages, the church cannot cheat in making its proposal. It cannot just hand over a book, it must offer a life. And it must enfold the experience of men deep within the embrace of its claim. And the judgment for us. Neither can we attempt to make such a portentous verification without a commitment that engages your entire life. Without first being willing to make a commitment. If the church cannot cheat, then neither can man. As we read the newspapers, there's a lot of conversation about safety and credibility. But they are two very distinct things. The church can be a safe place and lack credibility, and vice versa. There is a sentence that I love very much that actually Ruby, without probably having never read the book, quoted by Balthasar, that says that God love is only credible because God's love can only be communicated through an experience. Love is not an idea, but an experience. The credibility of the church lies in whether it is still a place that communicates the love of God, that witnesses, the way we describe it today, the love of God. That may happen in a place that is safe or unsafe. It requires certainly from us the human intelligence to understand and verify whether what I see is of God or not. A criterion for judgment. Whether the goodness that I encounter is of God or not. To be able to discern and verify, I think that's why Olivetta's initial questions and comments are helpful here. Whether what I see is the witness of your own strong will and natural demeanor, or the divine. And we have countless opportunities to have seen the divine pass through the filth. And that's why I say it can happen that the church is credible and unsafe. Think about what is the experience for that Tim was referring to when you go and do School of Community in prison. It certainly, the credibility doesn't justify the unsafety, right? There are two different things. Why do I say or insist in this aspect? Because much of our conversation in the media and among the people around us is about safety. Much of the proposals is about like trying to make sure that the church is a safer place. But the one that really matters is the one about credibility. Because Ruby's concern is not about so much what changes her life, the way interpreting what she was saying, is not that the place was safer, but that there was an experience of good. And a particular one. That she had the capacity to recognize and follow. You don't have to study theology to understand this. My proposal is that in the middle of December, you have a moment of judgment, an assembly in your school of community, and you invite your friends to talk about it. The people you go to church with, the people that you go to work with, have a moment in a month to discuss about something that we care about. How can the church be credible today? Is the church the prolongation of Christ today? If you don't feel about doing that, write something and put it on the bulletin. Give it on leaflets on the streets. Engage with other people about this. I insist that this be a personal work, communal with your school of community, a personal work to be faithful to the provocation we heard at the beginning of the day when Josè is concerned about the hope within you. Therefore, not to rely on the judgments that comes from somebody else. Verify you personally, as I have to do myself, whether what Josè says in these 2 chapters is a more intelligent way to look at something that is happening that is extremely grave, painful, and given. And precisely because it is given, is something that we have to engage with. The position of I don't care about it is not a position of desire, as well as the position that tries to just make sense out of it just by making it safer. That doesn't answer your desire. It's not a circumstance that is worth forgetting about or wishing away. It's the one that is being given to us. We are here in 2018 in America, in a church that is having a hard time not falling apart. And you, what do you say? The bishops, many bishops and priests, everybody's spoken about how to make the church credible again. No, you. Is that clear?
Can I ask a question? Because I still think that the credibility and I feel like the things go together. I mean, part of me thinks that the reason why we aren't credible is exactly because we've lost sight of the work that we're being asked by you in the school community and what Father Josè was pointing out. That the church in our life becomes a safe place when we're good to ourselves and our desire, and we're good to each other in that same way. I mean, when your life is taken by someone, people see it, right? Like Ruby said, right? I mean, I don't think she came here thinking tonight would be an unsafe place.
Correct, but and precisely because I want a good.
Yeah.
What is the engine underneath that allows for this good to happen? Does it make sense? Because and that's why this small insistence that Josè has in the beginning day is so helpful. It's not the tradition, it's what gives life to the tradition. Does it make sense? So it's not that because we have the right protocols, which we should, the right tradition, which we have, that we have a lot of rights, but they are lifeless. And that's where the judgment lies. A church that doesn't live of the divine has these objects there that are not. It's interesting. For example, if you happen to read, and you should interest yourself. I encourage you to interest yourself. The words that the nuncio gave to the bishops in this conference. Don't treat the church as an institution. It's speaking about this. It's not that we don't think that safety is important. It's that we understand where the life comes from. We are done, Ruby.
Didn't God say that there's going to be wolves in sheep's clothing?
Yeah.
We can't blame the church for those actions of very few compared to all months. That's not right.
You have a month to talk about it with your friends if you go with Paolo to School of Community. I'm just presenting the work, Ruby. Now we have a month to work on it. I insist on this, that, and I put it as with this word there, judgment, so that you don't confuse it with assembly, and we will not have a moment together. I would love for the diaconia, maybe afterwards, if every School of Community writes something that can be shared, etc. I think it's it would be a great service of love to the people that you worship with and that you work with. To invite them, maybe not to the 4 sessions, invite them to the last one, give them the 9 pages of the chapter. To help you do the work, I added a few pages from the life of Giussani, in which Don Giussani talks about this. The first one that I gave you there is an introduction to the wider church, just to refresh your mind by reading 3 pages of what Giussani presents in the book. The other ones relate to the texts that we are reading. I encourage you to do School of Community using those texts also this time. Sometimes I give it to you, like if you want to read also those pages to do School of Community. Okay? Now let's stand, say a prayer, and then we go.